Hello and welcome to the Christmas edition of the Bonsai Stuff podcast. I'm Scott Martin from Bonsai Matsu, and thank you very much for listening in, as always. Episode 50, Season 7. Geez, we're nearly at the end of the year. It's gone so quickly. And with so much, worry and uncertainty and, terrible things happening around the place, it's really comforting to know that we've got bonsai in our life as a constant, a stable, something that requires our focus and our attention. And for me, they're part of the backbone of my existence, along with my family and my friends. Really, bonsai are a significant part of my life, and I'd be lost without them. So it's really, really nice for me to know that I've got that connection, that special connection with so many trees around the place that I just love, to be honest. So anyway, this edition of the podcast, I'm going to talk about the calculated risks involved when we do work on our trees. So it's going to be a little bit about the health of the bonsai and how the pendulum can swing one way or the other based on what we're planning on doing. The other thing is that this time of the year, it's Christmas holidays. Generally, some people get a bit of time off and get to spend some time with your trees. It's definitely a quieter time around the place. So I've got some tasks that if you're looking for something to do with your bonsai during this period, then it's definitely put these ones on the to-do list. So, all right, let's get into it. Episode 50. Wow. All right, let's start the podcast with talking about what you can do around the yard with your trees at this time of the year. It's pretty much post-decandling work for me. There's trees that can be worked on. There's trees that have grown. I've given my deciduous a bit of a pre-summer haircut, so they've all slowed down quite nicely now. Might be the odd one here and there that needs a bit of a nip and a tuck, but pretty much all in all they're sorted. Natives, yeah, they're growing. Lots of flowers around the yard on the natives at the moment. It's just a bloody beautiful time. This warmer weather we get, sometimes warmer weather in Melbourne. But when you do get the warmer weather, the longer sunshine periods as well, the natives tend to put on a bit of a show for me around the yard, which is just lovely. They've just got such a variety of display that they do that it's hard not to walk past and smile at them at times, to be honest. And it's very hard to go and cut off all those beautiful flowers. But sooner or later, they've got to get removed. But the main thing for me at this time of the year, knowing that summer's stressful. That heat, the exhaustion, the wind, the drying out, the need to constantly be on guard for watering of your trees. It's hard on us, but it's certainly hard on some of the trees. And I look at this point for trees that are struggling. Like I'm looking for an indicator that the tree needs a bit more of my intervention, me to step up a little bit more. And if I do need to take action, like, scratching off the top layer of soil, maybe, dropping down the height of the soil level itself so the pot can get a little bit more water in there, or something a bit more drastic, aerate the soil a little bit with a screwdriver or chopstick, something like that, just to open it up a little bit to allow more water to get in there. Maybe that's a job I've got to do, but I see it a lot with deciduous trees or trees that sort of maybe droop with their foliage, some of the natives and that sort of stuff, that I look for those sort of things where it's a bit of a telltale for us to say, hey, look, this tree's struggling. Take steps now to fix it. Like we're at the start of nearly just past the start of the summer period. So we've still got a long way to go with hot weather. So if they're starting to struggle this early, then it's, take action on it. But the most important thing that I look for at this time of the year is I hunt around for the struggling trees and I flag them for repotting. Put a little spike in there, do something, put a tie around one of the branches, or make a note, whatever it is, on the tag, plant tag, due for repotting, something, just so you know that when it gets to the other side of summer, autumn's here, winter starts to head on and the trees lose their leaves, and you sort of forget about what happened at the summer period. It's like it's 6 months away. But it's such an important thing to say, hey, look, if it's struggling this year, then without repotting and getting into summer next year, that tree is going to have a hell of a time. So, it happens in the blink of an eye. It comes around so quickly that, repotting will be upon you, and you'll have trees everywhere, and you'll have a deadline to get things done within a certain period. So it's a matter of flagging it now. So when it does come about next year, you're spot on. You're ready to go. You don't want to miss it. So that's one of the main things that I'm looking for. The other one is, if you are dead keen on working on your trees, and I get it. You've got time off. You've finally got the scissors in your hands. You've got very little to be worried about. It's a nice time to put your feet up and say, you know what, I'm going to lock myself away and I'm going to work on the trees. You may, you've got to be very careful you don't overwork your trees, that you don't keep tinkering at them. Just because you've got the time doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. But one of the things that I look for now, if I get asked, once I get asked a million times, what can I do? It's look for unders on your trees, no matter what they are. If you're working on a cedar that maybe is not quite the right time, or you might have just worked on a little time ago. Maybe you've got a juniper in the collection. Working on junipers, it's getting to be a good time for them. So they're definitely on the to-do list for me during this period, during the warmer period when there's a lot less to do elsewhere. But even if you don't want to get into the full thing, you can always do the unders on the branches. So anything growing on the underneath side of those branches that's not potentially going to become the future direction the branch is going to take, get in there and start cleaning that stuff out. And do it with your natives. Do it with any tree that you've got in your collection. That if you're sort of chafing at the bit to, hey, look, I really want to do something with my trees. I want to get in there and do some work. Then just focus on the unders. Be very careful of working in and around foliage where your hands are going in at this time of the year, because you can do a lot more damage than good. The growth, it should have lots of fluid flowing through it. It should be on the more brittle side of life. So getting in there and keeping yourself busy on your downtime can mean the tree's got a lot of uptime trying to keep up with the damage that you've done. The other thing that I do around now is start to remove the fertilizer bags. I on some trees, the more delicate and in need of more water that maybe aren't in a shallow tray like some of my natives are. What I'll do with the fertilizer bags is I'll actually leave them on there, so they tend to hold a little bit extra moisture on the surface of the pot. And when I'm watering, it's I know that the nutrients, or pretty much the nutrients inside the bags, depleted. So I'll leave them on there and allow them just to keep a bit more moisture on the surface of the pots. If you don't want unsightly tea bags on there, but you want to get a bit more moisture into the trees, it's also a nice thing to put some chopped up sphagnum on top of the delicate trees. It helps hold a little bit. Don't make it super thick, because it'll become like a crust on the tree. But if you put maybe a millimetre or 2 millimeters of chopped up sphagnum on the surface of the pot, you'll find that when you water will hold a little bit more moisture in for the more delicate varieties. But this is the beauty of me using the tea bag fertilizing method, is when I want to stop fertilizing, I can just remove the fertilizer bag and I know that that's it. It's done. Once a couple of waters have gone through, anything residual in the soil medium is gone. When you're using, maybe something like Osmocote or some type of fertilizer that you're just putting onto the soil itself, then it's very hard to know when that's all gone without getting a vacuum and tucking it all up and half the soil on the tree as well. It's really hard to know when you've removed the fertilizer using not something that's contained in some kind of a packet or a container, like this plastic the brown fertilizer baskets. They're also okay. You can sort of get them and remove them. I do find they've got their own issues, but definitely don't be I wouldn't be fertilising anything but my Australian natives at this time of the year. Australian natives, yep, no problems at all. Keep fertilising through this period because they're built for it. Especially if you've got species or variety that grows locally in your area, you'll find that if they're sort of pushing new growth around this time of the year, then they're built for the heat that comes out of your area. The only time you'll have an issue is if you bring in something from a completely different environment and you just put it all into that, it's a native, I'll keep fertilising basket. You really need to look at where that plant grows best and work around and say, okay, well, if it's sort of dormant where it normally grows, then probably, look at taking away the fertilizer from it during that period. If it thrives in the hot temperature, then yep, continue down that path, but don't just lump them all together. It's like looking at pine trees and saying, well, all pines are exactly the same. Well, they're not. They're very different. All maples are all deciduous are exactly the same. They're not. All natives they're not the same. So just with your fertilizing, if it's thriving, if it's a growing period for the tree, and the foliage and the tree can handle that extreme of the heat that's coming, or that's been, or it's here, then continue. If it looks like it's going to have an issue with that extreme heat, then definitely look at removing the fertilizing. So vast majority of trees in my collection, for instance, are having fertilizer taken away. The melaleucas, the callistemon, stuff that's still pushing new growth right now, continuing to fertilise those, the Banksia. But the other trees in the collection, then they're having the fertiliser taken off them. Unless, like I said, you want to try and hold a little bit more moisture on there, and the bag's completely useless anyway because it's been, maybe 6-7 weeks since it was put on the tree, so there's nothing left in it but sediment. That sediment just holds a bit of water, holds a bit more moisture on the pot, saves that wind from coming along and drying out the soil a little bit. Then it definitely is. I've found it definitely to be useful. The other thing, here it comes, weeds. Get rid of the weeds. They are water stealers. Those things they steal nutrients from the tree. They unsightly, ugly looking buggers, but they steal water from the trees during these periods. So I find that 1% makes a big difference, no matter how small it is. Just try and get rid of it. And if you've got downtime, it's a great time to walk around with, maybe a pair of tweezers or something to scrape them out a little bit, soil scraper, something like that, just to take them out. I find that I can walk around with like a mini blowtorch that I picked up recently. The bigger ones I find they're great. They work really effectively, but sometimes the heat can get to the foliage on the trees. Whereas I found this tiny little, it's like about the size of a cigarette lighter. If anyone uses them anymore, but yeah, a little cigarette lighter that's got like a tiny little blowtorch, high intense heat on it, but it's very pinpoint specific as to where it goes. I find that thing for me is great to get around and take care of the weeds. You can sort of dig them out, do what you can, and then just go around and burn the roots or any that are left over that are too small to get rid of. I find it's like therapy for me. I get to get rid of the weeds and puts a smile on my face as well. The other thing, so talking about fertilising being taken off the agenda for the trees, one thing that you should definitely do right now is give your trees some sea salt, some seaweed extract. It's a product that we have available in Australia and New Zealand. Not sure about it being available anywhere else, but it's not a fertiliser. There's zero nitrogen in it. It's great for the health of the trees, gives them a bit of a pep in their step, gives them a great colour. They really thrive from it and builds up their tolerance, their resistance, and it just helps all round with everything. So I would definitely put on the agenda to go around and give your trees a good couple of doses of sea salt over the following week, just to really help them bed in. If it's going to be extreme weather, for me, what I do is I like to do that stuff really early in the morning. Get up before the sun takes effect. Don't do it late in the day. But for me, it's nice and early in the morning is the perfect time. Anyway, and the other thing, this time of the year, Christmas drags us away from being with our bonsai. Whether it's Christmas Day, whether it's visiting friends, whether it's doing whatever it is that you do in your life, you'll find that it's a busy time where you're taken away from your trees. So as I've said before, make sure that you are set up to be away, whatever that means, whatever that looks like. Automated system, hand watering, neighbours, trays of water, whatever it is, just make sure that you're set up. Use this downtime when you would be spending it with your trees. Don't focus on putting a smile on your face with working on your trees. Make sure that your trees are going to be okay when you're not there for whatever period. And I don't care if it's 1 day or if it's 2 days that you're away, or if it's just an overnighter, they'll be okay for 2 days. They may not. They may not. There might. I cannot tell you in all the years that I've been doing this and been involved with Bonsai Matsu and dealing with bonsai lovers, how many times I've heard the story, I went away for a weekend and I came back to this. It's like, yep, in those extreme periods, that lack of water can really make a massive difference. And I've heard the extreme of the other side too, where people go above and beyond for their trees. One customer, I can remember a story where they put them in their bath, half filled the bath up and put the trees in the bath to get through going away for a long weekend over the Christmas period. Came back, the trees are all okay, bath's filthy, but everything's okay. Other people bring their trees into a cool garage and, there's shallow trays of water, take them out of the environment. Whatever's got to happen, whatever you're going to do, just make sure that you're set up to be away. I talked earlier in podcast a couple of weeks ago about testing the system. That still stands. But if you don't have a system, just be prepared make sure you know what you're going to be doing for when you're away. It is a lot. It's an extreme period, and a couple of days, one day makes a massive difference. If you're away for Christmas lunch somewhere and it's extreme temperature, that, where the trees normally would be watered 2, 3, 4 times during that period, to not water them will have an impact. And that's on your shoulders because you've got time now to make sure that you're set up for it. Another couple of things that I love to do at this time of the year is, and this supports your local bonsai nurseries, which I love. I love bonsai nurseries. I really do. You can buy lots of bonsai stuff now in different online formats around the place, and you don't even need to leave home. You can get stuff shipped to you from online stores. You can go and meet up in car parks at McDonald's and swap trees and money and whatever else now. But truly supporting and being there for your local bonsai nurseries makes a massive difference. Without these beautiful bonsai growers and people that invest money importing things and making sure that we're all set ready to go. Without supporting these people, then our whole community is going to suffer all around the world. I don't care where you are. It's going to take a hit. So now's a great time, especially if it's a couple of days before Christmas and they're open. Go out and buy pots. I seriously love bonsai pots. One, they don't need to be watered. It can be 45 degrees and these things are fine. They're great. You can store them under your benches. You can store them in your workshop. You can store them in your shoe cupboard. It doesn't make a difference. But getting them now, and this is the main thing, the main reason why I say get bonsai pots now, it's the off season, right? Everyone's done their repotting. We've moved on. We're done with it. Like we're not thinking about repotting for a long time. Soil medium, all those discussions, they're months and months and months away. But if you go and buy pots now, you're going to beat the rush. There's going to be far more choice available for you. You're going to be supporting your local bonsai nursery, and you're going to make sure you're ahead of the game. And for me, when I look at pots, yeah, sure, I might have a specific tree in mind that I'm purchasing a pot for. That's probably my main reason to go. But I might buy 3 or 4 pots with a just in case. Just in case a tree gets blown off the bench, or just in case something new comes up in the collection down the track, or it might just be a beautiful piece of artwork. Looking at pots, right in front of where I'm recording my podcast now, I'm looking up. I've got a series of shelves with business papers and whatever else on them, but at the top shelf, I've got a beautiful Japanese little pot that I got given by somebody at a bonsai convention, and that thing sits there, and I look at it because I love it. It's just a beautiful pot. I've got trees that could go into it, but for me, it's just admiring the beauty and the art. That's part of bonsai for me that I really enjoy. But if you are looking for something to do, go and spend some time and get pots ready for next repotting cycle. Support your local bonsai nurseries and just maybe give them a good Christmas as well. All right, so now the very last thing that's on my list, and I love lists, is to make sure at this time of the year you sit back and admire your hard work. It's time to sit back, stop, and smell the roses. It's a lovely time to walk through the garden. I cannot tell you, but what makes the hair stand up on my arms, what makes me smile from ear to ear, is it's a nice. I'll paint a scene for you. It's a nice warm afternoon. It's sort of dipping down from 30. There might be a cooler change starting to come through. Whatever it is, I've got no shoes on. I've got shorts. I've got a light T-shirt. I'm walking around the place and I'm on the fresh grass. Everything's nice. Maybe I've run the watering system. I've got a nice cold beer in my hand and I'm walking around looking at my trees and I've got nothing else to do. I've got zero on my agenda. I can just soak in the trees. I can spend time with them. I can look at them and I can just go, that looks great. That looks really good. And I can stretch my arm around and give myself a little bit of a pat on the back. And that's what I want you to do as well is we constantly strive in this art to achieve the next level and what to do next and by doing things right. And there's that worry about everything that we do, talk about the fear of cutting and the health of the trees and, is this okay? And what's this little mark on my leaf? Just stop and enjoy it. Embrace bonsai and just, be thankful that they're in your life. And they'll be thankful that you're in their lives as well. I mean, we're so lucky to have these little trees in our lives, but it reciprocates. They're lucky to be part of this. Like, that little seed may never have germinated. That little seed may have grown somewhere and been ripped out and put into a recycle bin. It may have been hit by a slasher, whatever. But now they're destined to go on forever, to live for hundreds of years in a beautiful environment, getting everything that they need when they need it because of you. So it is a great time to just sit back, no matter what your circumstance, no matter all the clutter that's going on around, just take your shoes off, put your feet on the ground, spend some time with your trees and just absorb them and pat yourself on the back because it's a great thing that we do. Part of what I do in Bonsai Matsu and also part of the Bonsai Stuff podcast, but anywhere, as you know, if you listen to this podcast, that I am available as a resource. Maybe not quite ChatGPT bonsai, but I'm definitely more than happy to help wherever I can and give my opinion. And one of the things that comes across my screen from many places all around the world is, will this be bad for my bonsai? Is what I'm about to do going to jeopardize the bonsai? And I always revert back to the same thing, and it's a common thread through a lot of stuff that I talk about. And I think you could listen to almost any podcast I've done over the last 7 years. I can't believe it's been 7 years, but over the last 7 years, and the health of the tree, the root system, the engine of the tree becomes a main focal point. Always. It's if you can focus on the strength of your tree, the health of your tree, that the strength of the root system, then the rest of it becomes fundamental. It just slips, it just happens. Right? We work so hard on the health of the tree. Then you can do the design work, you can do the wiring, the shaping, whatever it is. But what I wanted to talk about with the podcast now around this time is because we are getting to the end of the year, which means we've got our yearly wrap-up coming in the next edition of the podcast where we talk about plans and all that sort of stuff. And then as we start the new year, plans get reviewed, plans get made, plans get started. So it's a nice time this time of the year when you do have a bit of time at your sleeve to stop and, like I said, smell the roses, but also start thinking about, hey, what would that look like if I did this? Or is that an option? Or what if, I strip half the bark off the tree and that becomes a shari and I do it, whatever it is, right? But it's the calculated risk that we take. And our trees take, we make them take it on our behalf, but it's a calculated risk we take when we're working on our trees. And the health of the tree always swings the size of that risk one way or the other. If you are calculating, let's say you're doing something drastic, you're removing a significant branch, you're stripping bark off a trunk, you're bending a tree in half, whatever it is, it's a calculated risk. We look at it and we go, will the tree survive what I'm about to do? Will the tree be able to take the next step forward? And then will the tree continue to thrive once I've done this task? it's a calculated risk, and it's the mathematics are going on in your head. You're looking at the tree going, well, it should be this way. When you haven't experienced the downside of doing something and then suddenly watching a tree die very slowly over the next period of time, you may not have this experience up under your belt. But for me, it's a calculated risk. I always look at it and go, yeah, that would be great, but it's, will the tree be able to come out the other side and be this brilliant bonsai that I want it to be? Or is it just going to be an exercise that I do which is going to have a massive downside? And this, I've talked about it before, where demonstrations that I do on trees in front of groups of people, this calculated risk always gets considered, always gets taken into place, because I'm not the sort of person that will do something for the wow factor where you go, whoa, look at that, he flipped it in half. How good's that? And then some poor bugger gets to take that tree home and then have it die on them over a period of time. That is not what I'm going to be doing. So I encourage you, when you are looking at your trees during this period and you're planning and thinking, hey, I would like to do this, just think about it that if the tree is strong and healthy, then you've got far less risk that you're dealing with. If the tree is on the weaker side, there is a hell of a lot more risk involved in doing whatever it is. It even gets to the point where trees will be presented to me and I'll just go, okay, so you can't do anything. Maybe you can get in there and trim off the dead foliage, but this tree is at the point where whatever actions you take, it could be the tipping point for this tree to say, that's it, I am done. No wiring, no pruning, no anything on this tree. No, just seriously, just baby this thing, take it out of the extreme conditions, put it into a delicate environment where, the tree's not going to have to work too hard. Sitting in the sun for very long periods of time for extreme heat, it can be really, really stressful on the tree. And so, it might not be, depending on the health of the tree, it might not be, taking the tree and folding it into a pretzel. It might be simply existing in the current environment that you've got it in could put a lot of stress onto the tree. That is something that you can fix. But if you don't fix it, if you don't correct little things like that, then it magnifies and multiplies, and over the next sort of 2-3 months of the summer period, your tree can come out the other side of it maybe less than half the tree it currently is, if at all, if it survives the process. But that calculated risk of saying, okay, I want to get in there and prune my unders, I want to do this, I want to do that. Is the health of the tree going to be something that it's going to come out the other side and thrive from, or is it going to be something that's going to be the tipping point for it? And that tipping point I talk about, that the ultimate demise, or it could be dropping of branches, or it could be whatever it is. It might not happen now. It might be something that happens in the future. Some trees that maintain their foliage, like the coarser, non-deciduous sort of foliage, you might not see the impact of what you've done for months and months. You suddenly, something happens, you wire a branch, you bend it, it cracks, heat comes along, tree's stressed, it's got, it's losing foliage going to the flow to the tip of the branch anyway, and then the tree goes, well, you know what, that's it, done, finished, withdraw resources from that branch, let's go somewhere else. That branch may stay lovely and green throughout the whole summer period. You might look at it and go, geez, tree looks great. Autumn comes around, you look at it and go, oh, my branch is dying. What is it? Start investigating, you start looking for fungal issues, for bugs, for whatever. It's like, no, wind the clock back a little bit. The pendulum swung to be a really high risk activity that you've done because you've wired a tree when there's strong fluid flowing through it, which means that everything's swollen, and any kind of movement that you're putting onto that branch can cause fractures on it. And if it's a younger branch with less insulation on it, then those fractures may be life-threatening for that branch. That's what's caused it. It's not that you see some kind of pests on there now and, those pests have killed my branch. No, the branch has got weaker, so therefore it's less resistance, bugs come in, whatever it is. You're going to find that if you think about it like a pendulum, is a tree super strong and healthy? Is it the right time of the year to be doing these tasks? Then, yep, sure, there's little risk. Okay, so the tree's on the weaker side, wrong time of the year, all these factors start stacking up in front of you. Okay, the pendulum swings across to the high risk category. Do you want to take that high risk? And this is what I call a you decision, because you're the one with the time up your sleeve. You're the one that either says yes or no to these things. And you'll notice that when I was talking about the tasks for the Christmas holidays, I don't talk about things like wiring or major branch removal or whatever. It's little jobs. It's the weeding, it's the cleaning the unders. It's stuff which is non-invasive to the tree. It's very gentle. It's not something which is going to cause stress, because we're in a stress period. Summer is a stress period. Full stop. There might be good days, but there'll definitely be bad days. And for me, I just don't find the need to really get in and do significant, major, stress-inducing tasks on the trees. But just think about it like that pendulum. And if you do that health assessment that I talk about, and there's an area of grey, then just see that pendulum swinging across to the higher risk side of things. So then it's okay. So it's a higher risk because the tree is a little bit unhealthy. All right, so now what is the task you're going to do? Or I'm going to weed. Perfect. There's no problem with that. All right, I'm going to, prune the unders. Great. Very little risk with that. All right, I want to get in and restyle the tree. All right, so we're at a high risk category. I want to get in and I want to wire and shape, and I want to create shari on the trunk of the tree, and I want to gin that dead branch, and I want to bend it in half. All right, so you're an extremely high risk category that even a super strong tree getting all that done within a really short period of time may tip it over the edge. So now, that health, risk, calculated risk that you're looking at, where's the pendulum? Where's it sitting? Is it, are you willing to take that sort of a risk with the tree just for your own amusement? I'd strongly suggest having a good hard think about it and just reassessing and waiting for a more appropriate time. And if the pendulum is in that high risk category, all right, stop. What else can you do to improve the pendulum, to bring it back to the healthy side? What do you have to do with the tree? That should be your focus, not on the styling and extreme tasks that you want to take, but what can you do to get the pendulum back on the side of the tree to say, okay, now it's ready for that next step. Stronger trees, healthier trees, they have a lot less risk associated with any of the tasks that we take, but they also step forward a lot quicker. The momentum for a healthy tree is a lot more than a weaker tree. On a weaker tree, you'll find that it'll just struggle. You'll do something that's years and years before you start taking those next steps. Get a tree where it's a really low risk item when you do it. The pendulum's on the, yep, it's good to go side. Then the tree just takes a step forward, and you'll find that they just get better and better and better. So strongly suggest that you look at that calculated risk before you work on any of your trees, but especially around this warmer period of the year for the trees. All right, well, that wraps up the second last podcast for the year, episode 50. I can't believe it, seriously. The year has just zipped past. I sit back every now and then. I have a special little book that I write every episode of the podcast always. I've got a shelf full of the bloody things. But I flick back through and think, wow, look at all that stuff that I've yabbered on about. People must be absolutely sick to death of it by now. But I do get, I love the encouragement and the support that I get from everybody that listens to the podcast every week. It's fantastic. It's brilliant, and it makes me continue down this path. It does take a lot of effort, so I do encourage you to become a subscriber. If you are a subscriber to the podcast, it means the world to me, because it keeps this baby rolling along and keeps me focusing heavily on how I can help the bonsai community, not only in Australia but anywhere. Basically, it's a driver of mine to make sure that the bonsai world gets bigger and better and stronger week on week. And that's always my focus, and I love it that anyone can enjoy their bonsai, even to a small percentage of how much I love my trees and spending time with bonsai in general, but also for the bonsai people that I get to spend time with as well. and this is without a word of a lie, I can't think of a terrible bonsai person that I've met. So I think that our unified approach on how we feel about trees is uniting, and it's brought a lot of smiles and a lot of good memories to my heart. So thank you very much for listening in. Next week's episode of the podcast is our yearly wrap up. I get to go through and give an honest review of how my year's been and what's been happening. So I look forward to yabbering on at you again next week, and thank you very much for listening in. As always, until next time, happy bonsai.